back. Some trouble's going down in that Pennsylvania farmhouse. But over here, it's nice and happy because we got Jason Witter in the studio with us. Yay! Jason Witter, tell us about you, or what you want the audience to know about you.
Well, I guess what I'm here for is to talk about a couple of movies that I've been involved in. First of which is Romeo and Juliet versus the Living Dead, which we shot a while ago, 2007, I think. It's going back a ways. But yeah, so Romeo and Juliet versus Living Dead kind of ties in with Night of the Living Dead, obviously. So we'll talk about that a little bit. I co-wrote that. I played Zombie Romeo in it. And then we'll also talk about Pizza Girl Massacre, which is the latest movie I did. And that one I wrote, directed, produced, acted in it, did the whole shebang. So you're partial
to the horror.
Absolutely, yeah.
That's what I love. When I met you, you were creating Hamlet the Vampire Slayer.
Hamlet the Vampire Slayer.
Macbeth in Space.
Yes, Hamlet the Vampire Slayer was kind of the first journey into what has become kind of a theme in the projects I do, where we take a piece of Shakespearean literature, mash it up with some sort of horror element, and see what happens. So as we did Hamlet the Vampire Slayer, we did Macbeth in Space, Romeo and Juliet versus Living Dead, and even Pizza Girl Massacre starts out with a group of community theater actors are going to perform A Midsummer Night's Dream, and they go out to a cabin in the woods to rehearse, and they order a pizza, and the delivery girl shows up, they don't pay for it, she kills everybody. So
sweet.
That's the size of that.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
So we have a clip from Romeo and Juliet versus the Undead, or a trailer.
Versus the Living Dead. Yes, I think we've got a trailer for that, yeah.
Cool. Anything you want to say to preface that?
No, I think let's just have a look at it.
Let's have a look at that beautiful trailer.
Two households, both alike in dignity, in fair Verona, where we lay our scene.
Oh, Romeo. Romeo, wherefore art thou, Romeo?
From ancient grudge breaked new mutiny.
Merrily did we celebrate fair barbecue when these monsters did attack.
If you disturb our streets again, your lives shall pay the forfeit of the peace.
Where civil blood makes civil hands unclean.
Nurse, who is yon gentleman?
He is Romeo and a zombie.
My only love sprung from my only hate.
Dick?
Ho, stranger. How can you love a zombie? The blood of your kinsman lies in their unholy bowels.
My love, the world is against us.
I didn't say I was opposed to the idea. Young couples yourself, you thought of the consequences.
Tell me you've not become a zombie's whore.
So, Juliet, tell me, what does zombie taste like?
Well, something to think about.
Sweet Mercutio, how long hast thou loved Juliet?
How many times must I assure you I am not gay?
You don't have a hope in hell.
If you could not feel joy, then I could never be truly at peace with my love. Find it in your heart to love Romeo.
For your happiness, I would kiss the face of death.
Marry us.
Be patient. The world is broad and wide.
There is no world without Verona walls.
Zombie, thy lips are cold.
Oh, happy chainsaw.
That was sweet. Where can we see this movie? It came out years ago.
Yeah, it came out a while ago. It's available on Amazon for DVD purchase or streaming. I believe it's on like iTunes and Comcast, stuff like that. If you Google Romeo and Juliet versus Living Dead, you can find it, I'm sure. But yeah, that's I haven't looked at that trailer in a long time. But yeah, it was a fun movie. It was interesting because it actually ended up being much more of a romantic comedy than a horror movie, which the trailer kind of shows. There's this whole thing with Mark Chavez, who plays the Mercutio character that we called Murky in it, ends up falling in love with Juliet. Juliet's in love with zombie Romeo, and so there's that tension there. But we really kind of played off this kind of 80s theme where Mark's character as Murky was really based off of Ducky from...
Yeah, I was going to say Pretty in Pink.
Exactly,
like his hair looked a little bit like Ducky.
He specifically got that haircut, so he could look like Ducky.
Wow.
And then he had to maintain that haircut the entire time we shot, and then we had to do reshoots, so he had to get the haircut again. And I don't think Mark enjoyed having that haircut too much. But he was awesome in it. He's awesome. But yeah, so it's funny, is that movie is actually much more a romantic comedy than a horror movie. I mean, it's got the horror element because it is a zombie movie, but we actually definitely pulled out more of a romantic comedy. That's kind of funny. So, yeah.
It's hard to step away from romance when you're doing Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah. Well, it's also interesting is I don't know if you've seen Warm Bodies, I believe it was called, which is very much a Romeo and Juliet zombie movie that came out a couple of years ago.
Oh, I think I've seen it on Netflix.
Yeah. And the characters are actually like, the zombie is a dude who's just called R. The girl is not a zombie, and she's called J. So it's obviously, you know, it's very much a Romeo and Juliet story. And they came out a few years after we did Romeo and Juliet versus Living Dead.
Jason Witter did it first.
That's right. That's what I'm saying.
It here.
We did it. And I have to give credit, Ryan Denmark was co-writer. He directed it. And it screened in the Edinburgh Film Festival back in 2009. And so that was pretty awesome. That was a really good time going out there for that. But yeah, it was interesting seeing Warm Bodies a couple of years ago and be like, oh man, this is a little similar to what we did.
Yeah.
But I mean, obviously it's a very different movie, but the general idea. Yeah, I mean, it was bound to happen, right? Romeo and Juliet versus zombies. It's going to happen. The Pride and Prejudice versus zombies, Abraham Lincoln, Vampire Hunter, all that stuff. It's just such a thing now, or has been the last few years, that it's not surprising, you know, more than one thing kind of comes out like that. So
I want to see George Washington Werewolf Hunter.
I have not heard of that one.